Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Lex and Lace podcast. I'm your host, I'm Lexi, here I am. Today, it is sunny where I currently am. It's funny, a lot of people ask me, oh Lexi, what are you? Don't ask me that question, I'd be everywhere. Right now I'm in Southern Africa, and I'm in South Africa at the moment, but by next week I will probably be in Botswana. Then I'll probably be in Mozambique, then I'll probably be somewhere else. Who the hell knows with me? Who the hell knows today? Who the hell knows today? Who the hell knows tomorrow? Especially with me. So what are we doing today? Today, we are going to be having a very AI-focused podcast because AI is consistently throwing curveballs at us and things are constantly changing. Every day, things are constantly happening. Sometimes it just feels like I can't really keep up. And you know what's crazy? I'm not on social media, but a lot of the information that I find through LinkedIn specifically. So it's like, I'll find an article there. Then I'll take that article, look more into it, take that post that someone has written, do my own investigations, do my own research on certain things. And then that's how I get a lot of my information, especially when it comes to commercial awareness, which is a very big buzzword in the legal field because everyone's like, oh, you always got to keep up with the commercial awareness. And it's like, yay, we love commercial awareness. So yeah, that's kind of what I end up doing a lot of the time. So if people ever wonder, oh, where do you get this story? Where did you find this out? Where did you do 1, 2, 3? That is where I find my stuff. Part of the reason I did this podcast was to actually promote it on LinkedIn a lot since I'm not on socials. But people say that, yeah, you have to get on TikTok. And I'm like, I kind of don't want to. I'd be scared of the internet. That's really the thing. That's really what the thing is. My therapist and I were just talking about it during our session this week. It's kind of I'd be afraid of the internet. I am afraid of the internet fully. I'm fully afraid of the internet. Don't know why. Don't ask me why I am. But it just gives me a lot of anxiety. I feel like for so long it made me so insecure that I'm kind of at a point where it's I don't want to be on the internet like that anymore. I don't want to be as exposed. So that's why I like LinkedIn, because it's there's a layer of professionalism. I've seen people use their LinkedIns for very, what's it called? I've seen people use their LinkedIns for more colloquial and informal things, which I think is fine if you're gonna be open to that. Because at the end of the day, the people that you have on your LinkedIn connections or people that follow you on your LinkedIn, they might end up being professional people who you're trying to connect with professionally, but it's suddenly now we know your personal life and it's do we really want that? I don't know. It's really down to the person. I feel like I'm going on a tangent that is not focused on what we're supposed to be focusing on today, so that's a bit funny. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at the moment, where it's I want to do more to market this podcast, and I want to do more about having guests over and having people come on the pod. But people are also scared because they're damn, I don't want to be out there on the internet exposed and stuff. So I understand everybody's anxieties because I feel those are the same anxieties that I have about the internet, about socials, about just things in general that I feel cancel culture really maybe put some people into a box a little bit. Maybe it's one of those things that really made some people retreat, where it's kind of damn, I feel I have good ideas, but if I speak I'm gonna get cancelled, or if I do this I'm gonna get cancelled. And it's I always tell people, I'm come on the pod, and they're oh, I'm scared, what am I gonna say? And I'm no one's listening. I literally do this because I'm in my head, I'm no one's listening. And then the day that someone was actually going to be listening, that's the day when I'll actually think about it and care. But at the current moment, no one's listening. So come on the pod. It's going to be interesting. I'd be saying interesting things. I hope people are interested in what I'm about to say, because we are about to get into our next segment. So we're back, and we are now doing our law segment. So, the law story of the week is that I read this on The Guardian. I saw someone's post about this on LinkedIn, and then I was like, hold on, let me do my research. So, The Guardian says the article is called "Barrister Found to Have Used AI to Prepare for a Hearing After Citing Fictitious Cases." So, a judge ruled that Chaudhry. Oh my God, maybe I should not be saying his name. You'll find it. Chaudhry Rahman used ChatGPT-like software and then tried to hide it, wasting immigration tribunal's time. Okay, so from my understanding, this is like not the first time that this has happened. I think there was also a case, I think it was in, where was this? California? I think it was, yeah, it was like definitely, it was like a US case or something like that. So basically, similar things where it's like someone is like citing fictitious cases that they're getting from like ChatGPT and stuff. So, what does the article say? It says that an immigration barrister was found by Judge Mark Blundell to have relied on ChatGPT like generative AI to prepare legal arguments for an asylum case involving two Honduran sisters. The judge discovered that the barrister had cited non-existent or irrelevant legal cases in his written submission to the upper tribunal. The judge ruled that the barrister had failed to verify the accuracy of the AI-generated research and had attempted to conceal his use of artificial intelligence, which resulted in a waste of the tribunal's time. The judge indicated he was considering reporting the barrister to the Bar Standards Board for Professional Misconduct. Oh, Lord. During the hearing, the barrister claimed that inaccuracies were due to his drafting style, but the judge dismissed his explanation, stating that several of the 12 authorities cited were completely fictitious and that none supported the legal propositions the barrister advanced. The judge concluded that it was overwhelmingly likely that the barrister had used generative AI to draft a submission and deliberately tried to hide it when questioned. The ruling made in September and published on Tuesday. I think, what was it, last Tuesday or something? Or like this Tuesday. So this is a caution example of the dangers of unverified AI use in legal proceedings. Oh my God. I have so many different things to say about this. For starters, what were you thinking? What was it? Like, I don't mean that to be in a rude way. I think, when did AI start? I feel like people started using AI heavily, I would say. It was like I think it was like my second year, so that was like 2022, 2023 is when people really started using AI like that. I was never a particular fan, so I never really used it. But yeah, I think I was either in second year or third year. I think that's when people started using it a lot. So I was never a particular fan because in my head I was always like, I'm smarter than this machine. So it's like, you're trying to like, people are like, oh, use it for inspiration. I'm like, use it for what? No, I'm smarter than this machine. Like, I don't need this AI. I don't need this generative AI to be telling me what legal case to use, how to write an essay, how to write a legal essay at that. I think a lot of people that used it, like who I knew were using it, were like a lot of the like STEM students, because it's like, it makes sense. If I was a STEM student, I would also be using AI to like solve problems and stuff, because it's like, oh, here's an equation, solve this, like this and this and this. So it's kind of like, you know what, like, can I do it by myself? Sure. But can the AI also do it for me? Maybe better, maybe in a smarter way. Yes and no, you just have to test it out and see for yourself, you know. But I know that a lot of people were using it back then, and what would happen is like I saw in the LinkedIn post, what would happen is that there are a lot of hallucinations. So it's kind of like, yes, AI knows how to do it, but not really well. So it's kind of like, it comes off. It's like the answer will be the same, but like the methodology is wrong, kind of thing. That's what I would hear a lot from like people who did like econ or like computer science. And back in the day, we used to have a lot of in like online exams. So I guess if there was an equation, motherfuckers would just plop that into ChatGPT and it's like, boom, we're done. An exam that's supposed to take 2 hours, motherfuckers were taking like 30 minutes and then like cross-checking with their friend. You know, these university degrees that we got, I'm very grateful that we got it, but like sometimes it's giving sham. Like, it's giving sham. I can't speak for everybody, but like on the legal side of things, like on the way we did a lot of our exams were like online, but it's like, you don't even, you couldn't even chat GPT it, because it's like, it's either you studied or you didn't study. It's one of those things where it's like, it was not very easy for you to be able to like be like, yeah, like I'm gonna put this question into ChatGPT and then I'm gonna like, boom, just gonna like write it like that. I think the best way to use AI is to have it backing off of something else. That is how I've always used AI. Let's say I'm writing an email. I always take an email that I've personally written and be like, take this information and write it in this style. I think that is the best way to go about AI. And then you have to obviously cross-check and make sure that it like matches your flow, it matches your voice, it matches all these different things. I'm going off such a tangent right now, but whatever. Even if you're gonna be essay writing, give AI an essay you have personally written and then be like, bro, like do it like this. By the way, my ChatGPT is called Sharon, so I always be telling Sharon, I'm like, hi Sharon, can you do this please? And like Sharon is great, like we have a great relationship. But I don't use AI like every day. It really be for very specific things because I like to use my brain. But if it's something I genuinely don't know, which can come across sometimes where it's like, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to word this, AI is really good at doing that thing. So I appreciate generative AI for those things. Now, getting back to this barrister, homie, I don't know much about this guy. I can't say much about him, but what I can say is that, you can check. I feel like, yes, you could have used AI to draft your arguments, but when it comes to cases, when it comes to examples, when it comes to laws, I feel like AI can draft your basic argument. That is fine. I feel like you can use it for that. I mean, I'm not a practicing barrister, and like even when I was practicing, like as a paralegal essentially, and coming up with arguments and helping like the proper like admitted attorneys at the law firm I was working at, even then, a lot of the time it's kind of like you could AI it, yes, but I would use AI more so to brush things up. Most of the AI I use was actually Grammarly, like, because my grammar is so shit. Like, I think that's just like the downside of speaking many languages. So you just don't have very good grammar in English, even though it's like, I think in English, but anywho, not the point. So I feel like AI can come up with with certain legal reasonings and stuff like that. But the actual hard work of you doing the legal research to find cases and to find, like case law and to find like journal articles and to find things like that. I'm like, big man, like that's, to be honest, that's an easy task. Because I don't know what is about immigration law. Like, I don't have much knowledge of immigration law, but there's just certain laws which are like, these are like fundamental laws fundamental cases that everybody knows. So it's like, those are not the difficult ones to find. So I don't, and also, if you've been in the game, if you've been a lawyer for so long, surely, I'm not saying it gets repetitive, but surely you already know, let's say, top 10 cases. Or cases that are similar to the case you're currently working. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't understand how this ended up happening. It really sounds like my man didn't even check. Because I think, that's what I mean, but it's like, you have to be really smart and strategic and intentional about how you use AI. Because this is a blunder that could have been easily, and I really do mean easily, like everybody could have caught this mistake. Because it's like, okay, cool, you have your legal arguments. You just check the cases and make sure it's real or not. And then if it's not real, like, cool, just go look for the case yourself. Like, there's judgments every single day. Like, there will be a case that's similar to yours. Like, textbook copy. So it's like, get inspired from that. Yeah, it might take you a little longer, of course, than just putting it into AI and then, like, generative AI just, like, vomiting something out. But, like, clearly what ended up happening was that literally you just vomited something out. So I think what made it worse is that homie also tried to lie about it. And he was like, oh, it's my drafting style. No, sir. You could have just said outright. And this is... you made it worse for yourself. I think that's what it is. You just made it worse for yourself, and you didn't have to. And I think this is just a lesson for all legal professionals to just take the extra time. Like, you know what? I can't even fault him, because working as a lawyer, working as at a law firm, everything's on a tight schedule. He might have been in court like 5 times that week. So I get it. I understand. I understand why you were under the pressure. But check, sir. Just checking goes a long way. Will it take... Because then you start to wonder, okay, what were you doing before generative AI? Because 5 years ago, this was not a thing. So this is what I mean by no, guys. We can't get lazy. We can't get messy like this. No. It's not an option anymore. Like, we know that AI hallucinations happen. So it's like, we need to be able to adapt. We need to be able to, like, as much as AI is helpful, we also need to be able to do our part. And that's why I was talking about, what was it? It was Garfield AI last week. Same thing, where it's like these two, like, legal professionals open a law firm, and then not only does the AI, like, it uses AI to, like, I guess, help people out with, like, debt recovery and all these different, like, pretty, like, straightforward, like, small court claims type cases. But it's like, they're also going to be lawyers on the side helping out, because AI will get it wrong. And also, even when you, for example, when you go on ChatGPT, it will literally tell you a disclaimer where it says, ChatGPT can make a mistake, check important information. So it's like, there's literally a disclaimer. So it's like, you can't even, like, go on to, like, I trust it. No. There's a disclaimer, like, everybody knows that this is how you use this, like, piece of technology. Like, and I can't say everybody knows, because some people are not aware, I guess. Maybe this person was not aware of how, like, generative AI works, and I guess he put all of his faith into it, but do better. That's all I can say. And this is not a diss to anybody. This is not, like, me shitting on this man. Obviously, I guess maybe he wasn't as tech-savvy or wasn't as aware, but I think, first and foremost, as a legal practitioner, I think there's a certain level, like, there's a certain standard that you are held to, and the fact that you used AI, I guess, can already be seen as not great in the judge's eyes. And I think what made it worse was that not only did you use AI and it came out with fake cases and fictitious cases and, like, maybe other fictitious information which could have been easily verified on the internet, it's also the fact that that the barrister tried to lie about it and tried to cover it up. I think that's what it is that, like, also made it worse. So I wish Barrister Chowdhury all the luck in the world. I have lots of thoughts about that, but yeah, next segment. And we're back. Still continuing on the AI train. This is a fashion segment, actually. This is interesting. So there was recently, I saw on LinkedIn a post that somebody liked about how, and this was in the Vogue Business, how the article is called "What an AI Bubble Burst Means for Fashion." So basically, artificial intelligence has been rapidly becoming the most talked about, like, force in technology, and the fashion industry is betting heavily on its potential to solve long-standing challenges such as personalized marketing, product discovery, and inconsistent sizing. Yet, as global markets wobble under fears of an AI investment bubble, the question looms: what happens to fashion if the bubble bursts, essentially? And I have been hearing about this AI bubble burst, and it's really giving 2008 once more. It's giving Wall Street crash. It's giving .com. It's giving the .com era crash. It's giving all of those different things where it's like, people have bet so highly on it. What is it? It's like Nvidia is like a $5 trillion company and all these different things, and it's like, okay, but what happens if they can't deliver on what they've been saying? And I was watching Hassan Parker this morning. Ooh, controversial. And he was talking about you know how during the 2008 market crash, 2008 crash, I think what happened is that it's like, oh, these banks are too big to fail, and it's like, I think it's at some point where it's like these banks are going to be not even banks, but this like the AI bubble is going to be too big to save. Where it's like people won't even be like the United States government won't even be able to like back this up. Where it's like it's just gonna have to let it fail, and then we're just gonna have to like deal with the consequences of our actions in that situation. Because realistically, like, so what? Like, okay, it doesn't work out, so now the U.S. government has to bail out Nvidia, and it's like, I guess they'd rather not. $5 trillion, like that's a lot of money, like, and we're kind of banking on that. I think a lot of people are banking on that, but people are saying that the bubble has already burst. People are already like making comparisons to the dot-com era. I don't know. So much is happening. So, massive investments and soaring valuations have sparked speculation that AI is in a bubble territory. So it's like tech giants, like I was saying, Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, boasting like multi-trillion-dollar valuation. Do you see this, like $1 trillion? Also, can we talk about the fact that Elon Musk before 2030 might become the first trillionaire? Like, can we not see a problem here? Like, how is that even, like, I can't even fathom $1 trillion. I'm just beginning to fathom $1 billion. $1 trillion doesn't even sound like a real number yet. It really doesn't. It really doesn't sound like a real number yet. So it's like, imagine somebody having that sort of net worth. Like, what does that even mean? Like, that's crazy. That's just like absolutely insane. That's like not even fathomable to the human mind at the moment. Like $1 trillion is a lot. What? Nah, man. Nah. So, while hundreds of AI startups have been labeled unicorns, critics warn this mirrors the dot-com era with vast sums invested before the technology proved sustainable profitability. Financial figures such as James Anderson and Michael Burry have compared current AI enthusiasm to previous market bubbles, warning of a looming correction. Sorry. This is annoying. Because this happens every few years. This literally happens every 20 years. And then people are like, yeah, we gotta do more capitalism. And it's like, no, how about we don't do more capitalism? How about we just do regulated capitalism, please? Because this is absolutely unregulated. This is actually just irresponsible. We have not seen what AI can do yet. We don't know the consequences, how profitable it is. Like, we are just beginning to, like, understand things. And then I'll get onto something else that's also AI related in our AI segment. But it's like, these are the things that annoy people. Because it's like, people can't afford food, man. Like, and you're talking to me about, yeah, $1 trillion company. No. What I tell you, people on this earth live in, like, such different planes. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. And, like, you might think, oh yeah, that person has money. They don't have $1 trillion though. Not even funny. Like, okay. I'm getting upset. let me actually get to the fashion part of things, please. Then, if a correction occurs, the fashion industry could face heightened scrutiny over its AI spending and return on investment. While major players like Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, Swarovski, and Moncler are leading adoption using AI to consolidate data, streamline marketing, and enhance digital experiences, the costs are significant. For instance, Moncler's AR-powered 3D product videos boosted engagement by 49%, but such results require extensive investment in data and technology infrastructure. That's also something that's also part of it, because it's like, okay, AI, but it's like, where are we putting these data centers? And do you know how much water these data centers require? Guys, no. This is what I mean by... No, I think this is what Hassan Piker was talking about when he was like, this is becoming too big to save, because it's like, who's going to bail you out when this doesn't work out? Because it's like, we are not seeing the consequences. People are just moving forward and doing things. Things are just happening, and no one is sitting down and asking themselves the questions of, is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows if this is a good idea. But here we are. And do you know who's gonna like take the fall for this in the end? It's gonna be working class people. That's who's gonna be like screwed over by all of this. People who are just trying to like live day by day, who are already living day by day, and now it's gonna be harder to live day by day because you have motherfuckers who want to be trillionaires, and it's like, no, we need to regulate this capitalism because this is a bad idea. Okay, most fashions companies are still experimenting rather than transforming. AI is being applied more safely in back-end operations like finance, supply chains, marketing, where it delivers measurable efficiency gains, such as up to 80% cost reductions of faster asset creation. However, the industry remains cautious about using AI for creative design, featuring reputational risk and loss of human artistry. And that's just a whole other story that just goes back to the artificial intelligence debate, where it's kind of, what is it? No. Intellectual property debate, where it's kind of like, how am I supposed to compete against AI when I have an original design, but then someone can just put something into a generative AI bot and then get the same design as me. Just stuff like that, which I'm like, okay, that's a complete different thing. We're just talking about the AI bubble burst right now. We haven't even gotten to the part about creativity and how human creativity cannot really be replicated, but it's it can be, and it is being replicated in some ways. So, but that's a different episode. You see, as much as I love talking about tech, talk about AI, and talk about these different things, I'm seeing the consequences in front of us, and they're happening in the current moment, and you don't even realize it until you realize it. And then, okay, unlike short-lived tech trends like NFTs or the metaverse, AI shows signs of staying power, really. A third of US consumers already use AI tools for shopping and recommendations, seemingly deep behavioral integration. Experts suggest that if the AI bubble bursts, it could actually benefit fashion, forcing companies to focus on genuine value-driven innovation instead of hype-driven experiments. So in short, the fashion industry's relationship with AI is still young but evolving. While a market correction could slow investment, it may ultimately strengthen the sector by pushing brands towards meaningful, sustainable applications of AI, turning short-term volatility into long-term opportunity. You see, that makes sense. That makes sense. I feel like a lot of these other tech companies and the tech industry as a whole is thinking very short-term, but it's if the fashion industry has said, you know what, let's slow down. Let's think about this in a more strategic way and how we can actually build longevity with AI instead of just hopping on the train of it and just hoping that it works out in our favor. Like they said, it's already being used on websites and different sectors like that. So, that's I guess how you can track what consumers want, what consumers like. And then when it comes to I think they're also choosing to slow down because of the backlash that they might face from the whole loss of human artistry and then human creativity that can't really be replicated. So I think the fashion industry is taking a good turn on this, and I'm glad that they're not putting all of their eggs in that basket like other industries, like fintech, so many other things like supply chains, marketing, where it's you know what, let's do AI, it's the thing, and it's you don't even know if this is going to exist tomorrow. Be serious. Tomorrow is not promised, especially not with AI. Tomorrow might be something else. Let's sit down critically and evaluate. But I don't know. I think it's exciting for fashion. I think if the fashion industry as a whole has sort of unanimously decided that, hey, I think we're a creative industry. We rely heavily on human creativity and on humans in general to produce, to design. Let's use AI for what makes the most sense, which is maybe finance, supply chain, marketing. But the real nitty gritty of things, the real bread and butter of what we're trying to produce is still human made. I feel that's how fashion and AI can work together. I think that's the best way that it can work together. But to say, oh yeah, we're gonna have a fully AI company, they're gonna create the designs, they're gonna do 1, 2, 3, they're gonna do this, and it's no. Let's not put our eggs all in this one basket, and I think that's smart of them. Because they might end up coming out on top because of it, and they might not suffer as much. Just food for thought there. Just a food for thought. Let's go on to the next segment. And we're back. Okay, this is now the most interesting segment. I guess it's the AI segment. And oh my god, okay. What is the story this week? The story is about Neo, the first humanoid butler, robot butler. Yeah. I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of things to say about Neo. First of all, I saw Neo. I saw it in a video. It was a video that I saw from, what are they called? Let me search it over here. What was it? It was the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, like a journalist went there and was like talking to Neo and like hung out with Neo for the day. And that's when I first saw about it. Then like the Daily Show did like a segment about it and all these different things. So, yeah, that's when I first heard about Neo. And then like I guess today, while researching for today's podcast, I like went in and did more research and I watched the like TED Talk by the creators. I think what are they called? They're called 1X. So I watched a TED Talk by, I can't even say his name because I think it's like Scandinavian or like Nordic, Northern European. Bernd Bornik. I'm not sure how you pronounce it properly, but I'm sorry for butchering your name. Yeah, so I watched the TED Talk about it, and whew, boy, do I have a lot of things to say about it. First of all, even in the Wall Street Journal, when the journalist was hanging out with Neo, you can see that like the robot is not moving how it should be moving. Like to pick up a glass is taking 20 minutes. Like, I think it was something like, oh, to load the dishwasher with 2 cups, Neo took like 10 minutes. To like, bring me a cup of tea, it took me like, 5 minutes or something. And it's just like, I think in their heads, it's gonna be a thing where like in 20 years or like in 10 years, mind you, this robot costs like $20,000, and I'm like, sorry, I'm not having Mr. and Miss MX Neo in my house for $20,000. And I think in their heads, it's a thing where eventually it's gonna cost like 500. It's gonna cost like less than a smartphone, so it's like everybody will have Neo in their house. But you see, I don't know. I have lots of thoughts about it. Like, I gathered some of the quotes that he was saying that, like, maybe you want to, like, introspect further and, like, want to just, like, deep dive a lot further into what, like, what this, all of this really means. So, they were saying that the way that they were training it, I guess they first thought that they could train it sort of, like, to do, like, pretty mundane tasks, like, as factory workers. And Mr. Burnt was talking about how doing the same task over and over again, you're not going to get very intelligent. There's no information there. You're going to become very narrow-minded. And I think that speaks volumes to, like, how maybe it kind of just goes back to, maybe this is political, but it kind of goes back to that thing of, like, sometimes you want a population which is dumbed down. I think that's what it kind of goes back to. It's like, you want a population which is dumbed down so that you can be controlled. Now I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's really not a conspiracy theory at the end of the day, because it's like, what he was talking about was like how factory work, the process is that we design it to reduce diversity and variance. You want your factory worker to need as little information as possible. So what he was talking about is that this is the opposite of what you need for intelligence. You need diversity, you need to challenge yourself, and you need to do tasks every day that you don't know how to do. And that's how you build on intelligence, and that's how you build your critical thinking, and that's how you become more of a, I guess, more well-rounded individual that is not narrow-minded. And I say that this is what, I guess, governments or even tech companies want, so that they can be able to, like, just like show you what you're supposed to do. They want to know how you think, and they want to control how you think, so that you can just consume. I think that's what it ends up coming. And I think that's on the side of corporations. I think on the side of the government, it's like one of those things where it's like, we want a dumbed down population so that we can just control them and take over and just like take their votes if they allow you to vote and stuff, so that like there's no real challenge and no one can really like say anything, and we won't really have an opposition. You know what I mean? So I think it's like similar things where it's like, for them, I think they initially thought that, you know what, if we're gonna put Neo in a situation where they're doing a mundane task every day, maybe it's gonna lead to some sort of like, personhood, maybe. It's almost personhood. But that's like literally what did not end up happening, because in the end, they did not become fully autonomous general purpose robots through working in a factory, because guess what? When you do the same thing over and over again, what was his quote? You're not gonna get very intelligent. So what they decided to do instead is they took homie Neo into the yacht. They took Neo home. They're like, yeah, so we took Neo to the house, and Neo was able to learn more things. And I'm like, excuse me, you brought this motherfucker home? You brought homie home? And I think the craziest part of this TED Talk is talking about, on the TED Talk he's talking about, yeah, it started off with Monday tasks, like, helping me do the like, not even do laundry, but like, passing me a cup of tea, and then it was like serving things at my, like, daughter's birthday party. Mind you, in the video, homie had Neo dressed up. Actually, no, they didn't have Neo at the time. It was Eve who was talking about. So in 2022 was Eve, and I guess Eve was a humanoid on wheels, and then Neo is now like full body, 2 legs, a whole like pentadactyl limb, the whole nines. So in my head, I'm like, sorry, you and other people at your workplace brought a robot home around your families? Nah, crazy. That's so wild to me. But I can also imagine a future where this is happening, where it's like you're gonna have homie Neo with you, and it's just like, okay, Neo, I'm leaving now, bye, see you later, or like, let's go on a walk, and it's like, what is the purpose of this? Is this to cure loneliness? And I was watching a comedian, Josh Johnson, he was talking about, no, this is so creepy, because it's like, I mean, he was comparing it to many different things, but he was kind of like, I don't understand what the purpose of this is, because it's like, we all know how the sci-fi movies end, and it's like, we do know how the sci-fi movies end, so it's like, I'm trying to understand, how is this going to end not bad? Like, how is this going to end in a good way? Like, what is the end goal here? What is the end goal? Because it's like, if we want, let's say, if the purpose of this is a fully autonomous general purpose robot, that means you want like a robot to eventually gain personhood, right? So how is homie Neo gonna gain personhood in this situation? Is a robot gaining personhood a good idea? Also, how do you turn Neo off? No, I have like, as much as I'm like impressed, I'm also like, this is scary. No ways. This is scary because we don't know is it safe? And it's like, yeah, they're safe. They can lift 150 pounds. I don't know how many that is in kilograms. Yeah. And it's like, and even the interviewer at the Wall Street Journal was like, yeah, what happens if Neo tries to kill me in my sleep? That won't happen. And it's like, they don't have the force to. And it's like, I think on one hand, it's like you say this, but then on the other hand, Neo is still so like in the baby stages, because there was a point in the TED Talk when Neo's trying to like water a plant with a pot, right? With one of those like plant pot things, I guess, to water the plant with. And Neo was struggling. And then even to put it back on the shelf, Neo was struggling. Even to pick up a pot of like a mug, Neo was struggling. And then it was like a funny part in the like Wall Street Journal segment where the journalist is like, where they're giving Neo like, oh yeah, Neo, here's like a walnut. Can you please crack it open for me? Neo was struggling. But then it's like, if Neo was struggling with that, how do you expect Neo to then like do my laundry and then somehow also at the same time, be like my in-person butler? And I'm like, no, guys, we still have a long way to go. And I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, I love the idea of it, but I'm also like, I would rather not. And then in the TED Talk, they would talk about give us back things like time and work towards a future where we have an abundance of labor. And I'm like, do you see the labor market at the moment? Abundance of labor. Because they talk about, we have a labor shortage. And I'm like, we have a labor shortage for what exactly? What is the industry that is currently having a labor shortage? Also, if you have a labor shortage, how about we pay people? And it's like, give us back things like time. So it's like, okay, you know what, I'm for this if it's a thing where, okay, we don't need humans inside of a factory. We'll need them working jobs that require a lot more critical thinking that a robot currently doesn't have. So then that means that maybe, you reduce humans can become more efficient because they won't be they won't be spending time doing mundane tasks, and so productivity can go up. So that means that you can lower the working hours so that people are more productive and efficient, and then you also will lower the working hours so that people can spend more time consuming. If that is the whole idea, then I guess that I'm for it, because at the end of the day, I think when people came up with the 40-hour work week, there was, I guess, it was this idea of you're going to have time to rest, but currently people are not resting, especially not in a gig economy. So people don't have time to rest anymore. So it's like, okay, if robots are able to do these mundane tasks, that means that humans can now spend more time doing things that they, one, prefer to do, two, are consuming, and three, they're learning how to be more efficient in order to, like, I guess, contribute to the economy in more efficient ways as opposed to just doing mundane tasks. But it's like, this is where you then get into the conversation of, there are places without roads, but at the same time, there are places where people have humanoid robots in their house. So it's like, I think you can compare it to the smartphone almost. So it's like you'll have someone out in the middle of, like, I was going to say buttfuck nowhere, but it's basically that's what I'm trying to say. Where it's like in the middle of absolutely nowhere, but they still have a smartphone. If the idea is that, okay, you're going to be in the middle of nowhere, but you can still have Neo, but it's like, I have Neo and I don't have to do certain tasks, but I still live in the middle of nowhere and I don't have running water, good electricity, stable internet, or a road to get me from point A to point B, but I have Neo. I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense. Because it's like, you can have a smartphone, but you won't have a car. Or you can have Neo in your house for $500. Because eventually, I think that's the point of it. It's going to be the price of everyone's eventually going to have one, and the technology is going to get so good that it's like, Neo's basically going to be cost as much as a smartphone. So it's like, everyone might have a Neo in their house. And it's like, if that is the point, we can't also just be unrealistic and be like, how are you going to have people who have humanoid robots in their houses, but at the same time, they don't have, like, stable utilities in their house. You know what I mean? So it's like, all of these different things are just not making sense to me. I'm kind of like, I don't know what fantasy land people are living in, but it's like, I don't know if it would make sense. I don't know if it makes sense, and I don't know if that's their long-term plans. If that's the long-term plans, I would say build a society where it makes sense for everybody to have a Neo in their house. Currently, it doesn't make sense to have a Neo in their house. And this is why people be like, oh, homeless people be having iPhones. This is literally what I mean. That doesn't make sense to me. And it doesn't make sense to me from the point of view of, it's literally, like, you can literally be homeless, but you'll still have technology in your house. So it's like, you can literally be homeless, but you'll still have a piece of technology. So it's like, this doesn't, no. Something is deeply wrong. That's all I have to say. Like, within that, I can't, like, sometimes I feel like I don't have the vocabulary to be able to articulate what I mean by this doesn't make sense, but it's absolutely ludicrous that you can have somebody who literally doesn't have a home, but they have an iPhone. And it's like, how did you end up in this situation? And it's like, that's what I mean by regulated capitalism, because if you're going to have Neo in your house, great, we all have Neo in our houses, or we all have Neo as a friend, or we all have Neo there with us. But it's like, what's the point of having Neo there when you can't pay your bills? You know what I mean? So it's like, this is something that just, like, it's completely out of bounds, and as much as they want to make something like that accessible to everybody, I don't think it's something that should be accessible to everybody purely because of how living standards currently are for people. It doesn't make sense for us to be living in a world where people can't afford basic things, but in tandem to that, you're also living in a world where someone has a humanoid robot in their house. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's a clusterfuck. It's a mindfuck. It's honestly a mindfuck. And as much as I appreciate his, the TED Talks, like, point of view of how it's going to give us back time, we'll be able to do more, like, we're going to be able to be more at leisure, and, like, I guess he's also a thing where it's like, he was talking about what will this relationship be between, like, humans and machines as AI becomes more physical. I think within that, this is what I was saying, where it's like, I don't know what that will mean as AI becomes more physical. Because it's like, yes, AI is becoming more physical, but people can't afford basic things. So it's like, what's the point? What's the point? And then he was talking about, this is like one of the last things that he was talking about, will we be able to take labor around us for granted? And it's like, we already take labor for granted. We literally take human labor for granted already. We literally already take it for granted. So it's like, I don't know what the transfer of that labor and that output, putting that on robots, I don't know how that's going to help us long term. Because either way, in the capitalist society that we live in, labor is consistently taken for granted. People think that things just occur. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean by, it's like, things in their heads, things just occur. Where it's like, no, things occur because somebody's doing something behind it. So it's like, if you have Neo in your house, that doesn't necessarily mean that your life is now going to be easier or better in any way, shape, or form just because you have a humanoid robot in your house. So it's like, oh, okay, now I don't have to get home and think about dishes or things like that. But it's like, no, like, labor is already taken so much for granted that as much as I invite and I am intrigued and I want to discuss things that are involved tech and AI, I also believe that as it currently stands, it does not make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I think sometimes I think it's disrespectful. That's what it is. I think it's disrespectful to say that we'll be able to take labor around us for granted. I guess so. I think it's disrespectful because labor is already taken for granted. People work humongous hours to get nothing in return. And a humanoid robot is not going to help us advance a society, in a society that already takes labor for granted and where people can't afford basic things. So, that's my take on Neo. That's really my take on Neo. Apart from, that's like the wider take of it. I mean, on a more like, I guess, in a less serious tone of it, I'm still like, this doesn't make sense because, you can't pick up a mug properly. Go back to the drawing board. Go back to the drawing board. Go back to the drawing board. So that has been our podcast for the day, for the week. Yeah. Yeah, this was a heavy episode. I think I was very passionate about certain things. I mean, like I said, this was a very tech-focused and very AI-focused podcast. Love AI, love everything that it has to offer us. I'm interested to see what happens, long-term, short-term. I'm interested to see about this AI bubble. Like, if I come back in a week and the bubble has really burst and, like, all of the markets have crashed, well, don't say I didn't warn you. We've been talking about this. And like I said, maybe the bubble has already burst. So maybe we're already all screwed and we don't have our savings anymore. Who knows? I wouldn't know. But yeah, that's been our episode for today. Shout out to LinkedIn for getting me all of these gorgeous, gorgeous stories. Shout out them for real. Shout out Neo. Like I said, go back to the drawing board with that one. Like, if you can't pick up a mug properly, why do you deserve to be in my house? Talk about, it can help you with laundry. Please be quiet. No, he can't. No, she can't. Also, Neo comes in 3 different colors. No, stop. Why does Neo come in black? Let's talk about that. That's really the problem. Why does Neo come in black? You in a black butler? It's given slavery. But anywho, it's giving certain things which are not very ethical. But anywho, not even trying to be funny. Yeah, that's been our segment. That's been our podcast for the week. I hope to see you guys soon. You'll hear from me next week. Next week, you know what? Next week, maybe let me have a more chilled like podcast. Maybe I'll just keep it purely love or purely fashion. I don't know. I'm gonna see how I feel about it. But I got opinions, so I'm gonna talk my shit regardless. So yeah, please like, comment, follow, do all the things. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye. Well, thank you for listening to the Lex and Lace podcast. Bye-bye.